Leave my thoughts on the table, set my keys by the door. All these fortune and fables, I don't think they need us no more. In my head like a blitzkrieg, on my heart like a war. Coming back for your heart now, 'cause this one ain't mine anymore. Will you wait by yourself, dressed like an angel in white on the way? Can you be like a drone, straight from a song that I've known all along? Can you take the
Before we begin, you might like to take a moment to gather together one or two things. Perhaps a candle you can light, as I light one during the service. Maybe a photo of the person you're remembering, or perhaps some other memento of significance. As we begin, I would like to acknowledge this service is taking place on Dja Dja Wurrung country, and I would like to pay my respects to the traditional owners of this country, the Jara people. I also pay my respects to their elders, past and present. They hold the memories, traditions, culture and hopes of all their people. I also recognise there will be people watching this who are also elders from all walks of life, and I pay my respect to the wisdom, knowledge and experience they bring as they participate by watching this service. This service is being filmed not on the grounds of the hospital, as in past years, but in the garden room of Buddha, the historic home and garden here in Castlemaine. And also, as we begin, just a few words on some name changes you might notice as this service unfolds. Over the last little while, Castlemaine Health has integrated with Maldon Hospital and Chirp, our community health service in town, to create a new health service called Dhelkaya Health. Dhelkaya means good or being healthy in the Dja Dja Wurrung language. The choice of a First Nations name acknowledges the Dja Dja Wurrung's traditional ownership of the lands on which we work and live here in Castlemaine, and expresses our gratitude to them for sharing them with us. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this Dhelkaya Health's annual Remembrance Service of reflections and memories. Continuing COVID-19 restrictions in healthcare settings mean that, like the last 2 years, I'm unable to offer a service where we can gather together in person to offer our support and fellow feeling to one another. While on the surface this seems like a great shame, and it is, I've learned offering the service online means that so many more people are able to be a part of it. So many more. So my hope is that that is true for this year as well. Please feel free to let other family and friends know this service is available online to watch, and pass the link on to them. Some of you may know me, but for those of you who don't, my name is Danny Moore. I'm the bereavement counsellor and pastoral care and emotional support worker at Dhelkaya Health. I'd like to warmly welcome each of you as you watch this, family and loved ones, staff, volunteers and community members. Thank you all for tuning in. I offer this to you, we gather in this virtual way, because each of us has lost someone important to us. There is a gap that has been left in our lives, a gap that will never be filled. But as time moves on, we travel on with either the knowledge or the hope that our lives will grow around that gap, that our lives will and do grow to encompass it, embrace it, hold it. We gather in this way, coming from many different backgrounds and experiences. We come to this viewing embodying many different relationships, husbands and wives, partners and former partners, children and stepchildren, grandchildren and siblings, relatives through marriage, friends and neighbours. We come with many different feelings, some of those too complex or too deeply felt to put into words. We come, each of us, with a unique experience of grief and loss. There will not be a single experience of grief among the people watching this that is exactly the same as yours. And yet, we come to this viewing sharing the fact we have all indeed experienced loss and grief and are all somewhere in the process of reforming our lives. We come believing that each human life is precious and valuable and worthy of our recognition, believing that the truth, integrity, and hopefulness that resided in each life we remember and honour lives on. We come believing that our loved ones are joined in the eternal continuum of human endeavour, stretching back into the past and on into the future. Each life was lived in uniqueness, and the gifts and learnings we received through these lives now travel on with us as we journey. And so we come together to support each other and to remember loved ones who have died here at Dhelkaya Health over the past 6 to 18 months. Some of them lived the last chapter of their lives at our health service as residents. Some of them were patients or respite, palliative or transitional care clients of our health service. But of course, in remembering them, other feelings and memories may also be conjured. There may be other people, indeed other losses we are grieving. In recognition of this wider remembering that we do as we watch something like this, I place upon our memorial table the Dhelkaya Health Memorial Book in honour of all those people and losses we remember today. And this is the moment when you might like to join me in lighting a candle at home as I light our memorial candle. This is in remembrance of our loved ones or our former patients and residents who have died. We remember them, we mourn them, and we miss them. Candles are an ancient symbol of light, hope, and healing. We light our candles not only as a symbol of our remembrance of loved friends or family, but also in the hope that in the midst of our sorrow, in the midst of all the losses, both big and small, in the midst of our own private griefs and struggles, in the midst of stress and worry and change, we will know and experience hope, healing, and lightness. Now, it may be that some of you have with you photos or keepsakes or objects of special significance. If so, now's the time to place them where you can see them if you haven't already done so. please allow me to share with you a poem I've only recently come across. Robert Niemeyer is one of the world's foremost practitioners of grief and bereavement therapy. He also writes poems. He penned this one after a recent death in his family and while driving for hours during a deep Canadian winter. I think it captures those moments in our grieving when we feel pulled in two different directions. When, after the initial intensity of our grief begins to soften somewhat, and we feel the pull of the future with its plans, demands, and needs. Yet, at the same time, we also feel ourselves caught in the tug of the undertow of our memories and loss. Those of us who have driven the long, cold road alone have watched the thin line of trees, frosted white, slipping behind like memories. We know the pull of something unseen, beyond the reach of dry eyes, fixed, blinking at the distant mist. We ride the road with our lonely ghosts, unwavering in their devotion like penitents at an altar, the altar of our grief. This is how we perfect the art of longing, learn to nurse the hurt, refuse the fullness of the world. For now, we keep driving, leaning into the dimming light, leaning further toward winter's receding horizon. This time and place is for pausing a moment, for being still and remembering and forgiving our thanks. Each person we remember was unique. They were blessed with a life on this earth, a life shared with others, a life full of the promise of purpose and love. They worked hard, made homes, perhaps married and raised families. They each had hopes and dreams, disappointments and delights, difficulties, hobbies and interests. They were complex, interesting, remarkable people, each in their own way. Each of them had something to share, something to teach us. Some of us were their loved ones. Some of us cared for them while they were at Dhelkaya Health. They touched our hearts in different ways. Indeed, some of them have been a part of our lives for a lifetime, and our hearts ache now that they have gone. We will acknowledge the truth of this by my reading aloud the names of those we remember. As I do this, I will be periodically hanging autumn leaves on the memorial tree as a symbol of remembrance and thanksgiving. You may also like to say aloud at home the names of other people you are remembering at this time. So we remember and we give thanks for Betty Adamson, Doreen Archer, Clary Barnes, and Phil Barnes. Enrique Bass, Colleen Batty, Gwenda Bear, and Barbara Bloomfield. Betty Bowl, Lauren Bright, Noel Broad, and Phyllis Brown. Trevor Brown, Jack Carolyn, Laurie Clark, Heather Cooper. Leanne Crisp, Patrick Cullen, May Q, and Alan Dry. Pat Pharisee, Stephen Fletcher, Gloria Flynn, Bill Ford. Judy Foster, Gerda Garwin, Bob Gordon, and Leslie Gleeson. Margaret Green, Rick Hambleton, Ian Hammond, and Jack Harrington. Pam Harrison, Kathy Halstead, Betty Henchman, and Margaret Hobbs. Norma Hood, Claire Hulcoop, Robert Joliffe, and Ned Kelly. Zara Latimer, Ron Lawson, Helen McCallum, and Deborah McCarthy. Bob McDonald, Jack McDonald, Les McLean, and Linton McLennan. Jenny Mao, John Maxfield, Dorothy Millen, and Val Maloney. Edna Mooney, Ray Morland, John Neal, and Mervyn Ramsey. Neville Ratnick, John Reed, Jack Riley, and Elsie Scholes. Margaret Shanks, Debbie Sharp, Ray Sharp, and Bernadette Shepherd. Eric Smith, Denise Stutchbury, Bernie Sudham, and Phyllis Summerhays. Alice Tate, Pat Taylor, Vicky Taylor, and Malcolm Thompson. Mary Thompson, Doris Vella, Jack Walker, Devon Williams, Kathy Williams, Carol Woolhouse, and Robbie Wright. I'll now allow a time of silent reflection, just a moment or two, in which we can give our own personal thanks or pray silently if that is what we wish, within the quiet of our own hearts. In this time too, we also remember and give thanks for those other people who are incredibly important in our lives, who are no longer with us, but who live on in our minds and our hearts. I don't need to speak their names. They're in your heart already. I invite you now to join with me in a responsive reading by saying with me after each phrase, from wherever you are, the words, "We remember them." In the opening of the sun and in its closing, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. We are coming towards the end of our Remembrance Service. As we do so, I'm so aware of the many different experiences of grief that may be brought to this viewing. All of you have already experienced your first Christmas without your loved one, perhaps some of you even more than one Christmas. Some of you have already experienced a first birthday or anniversary of their passing, while some of you may be yet to do so. Indeed, for some of you, those anniversaries may be very, very recent indeed. While for some, such milestones and landmarks are difficult, momentous or meaningful occasions, for others, those days aren't so significant. Instead, grief finds more sneaky, unexpected ways to make itself felt. In her book, Stumbling Stones, Aedra Grant writes of her path through grief and recovery after the sudden death of her twin brother, followed a few short weeks later by that of her father. In the book, she writes, "I remember the way people behaved towards me, their awkwardness and muffled kindness, the way they changed around me. Some ran a million miles as if I was carrying a terrible infection. Others drew close, too close, treating me as if I was ill, They patted my arm, looked deeply in my eyes, and whispered in voices dripping with concern, "Are you okay?" "No, I'm not," I would think, pulling away. It was hard to receive kindness, and even harder from friends than from strangers. I was given curious gifts in that ragged time. Sure knowledge of what I would and wouldn't do. Crystal clear knowing of what really mattered. The trivialities of life were baldly exposed. I was released from worrying about what other people thought of me. The whole business of grief and loss is a mess. Whatever way you come to it, the journey through it is long and unpredictable. The only way through it is through it. There are no shortcuts. The more you step into it, the better. Avoidance only brings it back more strongly later on. Better to lash yourself to the mast and sail into the storm. What choice do you have? And after others have gone back to their lives, you will still have to sail that sea. Grief and loss and grief. All I knew that, young or old, we will all have to walk that dark path. We don't get to decide the when or the how of it. We can linger there, get stuck. We can follow the signs. We can get angry. We can wail and we can shout at the world. None of this changes anything. The dark path has a heart. It speaks to unfathomable souls and deep longings, and it shows us the world in unimagined ways. Things happen on that journey. Friendships are formed and gifts arrive from unexpected sources. A friend told me once, "You get the help you need, not when you think you need it, but when you really do." She was right. My hope is that regardless of where you find yourself on that dark path, watching this has offered you something of what you need. Solace, comfort, recognition of the significance or complexity of your loss, hope, a time to be still and remember in the midst of a world that barrels on regardless of what you may be feeling, a place from where you can take your bearings and move onwards. I'm not overly fond of the word closure. I don't necessarily find it a particularly helpful concept, especially when it comes to grief. But I do hope viewing this has provided you with a gift. Thank you, each of you, for being a part of this remembrance service by watching it. Although it isn't the same as being together in person with other people, some of them very close to you, some of them complete strangers to you, please know there are others watching this who, like you, know something of what it has been to love and to have lost and to have sought to rebuild life. A hope that somehow that offers you some comfort. If watching this has raised difficult emotions for you, please reach out to someone you trust, like a friend or your GP. There will also be some bereavement support contacts displayed at the end of this service for your reference. I'd also like to take this opportunity to offer my heartfelt thanks to the people who have assisted me in making this service available to you. I'm especially thankful for the support of Janine McCarthy and Miles Bennett. Please allow me to offer to you a blessing as you go on your way. May the sun give you energy, bringing light to the dark places. May the moon softly restore you by night, bathing you in restful sleep and peaceful dreams. May the rain wash away your worries and cleanse any hurt that sits in your heart. May the breeze blow new strength into your being, granting you courage. May you walk gently through the world, keeping your loved one with you always, knowing you are never parted within the beating of your heart. Thank you for being a part of Dhelkaya Health's annual Remembrance Service of reflections and memories.